especially when when you're fishing, then you try to put your nutrient processor on there so you can cook while you're fishing.
Yeah.
And
I was doing that yesterday. Oh.
And it's like the nutrient processor.
It always seems like it slowly moves away from you, right? Like
Right.
it goes up, and then it's like somehow it's in a different area.
Yeah.
And I like the realism of that. I hope that never changes. But man, yeah, the water, the quality of life, I'm starting to lose it here. What else changed? For some reason, it's like, oh wow, when you get it, and then after that, it seems really normal. And you
I think one of the interesting changes were you don't hear much about it, but the volumetric clouds that changed.
Yeah.
I don't think like on PlayStation it's not like quite as noticeable, but if you follow like somebody like Ray Reynolds who just takes these amazing screenshots and like the more higher resolution screenshots, like they just look amazing.
Yeah. Well, that was the thing. I think when it first hit, it was out on PC and PlayStation first, and Xbox was lagging behind. So I was purposely going through and trying to do shot for shot. Like we went to the same exact planet. I had my Xbox and my PC going at the same time, just to show how. Because when you're in it, you don't realize how good it is. You're like, oh yeah, that looks good. But when you compare it back to the old version, like the week before, it was like, holy cow, this is totally different.
Like I had to step back.
We got floating islands too. Like it wasn't that long ago, but it's like struggling to remember everything.
We got new biomes for the planet. So we had a new fire biome planet. So we have a new the glacial planets now for frost. So now everything's frozen over. They added all this stuff in, and now a month later, everyone's just like, oh yeah, it's always been there. It's like, no, these are new.
Has anybody been to a floating island since the water update?
Oh,
I'm curious about the waterfalls off of it.
No, I need to go.
I think I went the first time, and they've done some more water patches since then. I need to go back. I have I have a list of planets I've been to. I tried to find all of them, like the big robot animals that we have now, the big walking buildings. Those are really awesome. The megafauna. Yes. So I want to go back and see how the water interacts with all that.
Still have yet to see a building.
what was that? We were streaming. I think it was the second day, and I ran into a megafauna planet that had walking buildings on it. It was crazy. I was like, okay, this is good. This is perfect right here.
Are they really that huge?
Yeah,
they can be. So they're just like any other animal. They will randomly generate size and everything. Mm-hmm. So you can run into, like, the first one I ran into, the first walking building I ran into was very tiny, like smaller than my character. And I was like, okay, that's not so bad. And you can make it a pet, and you can put it in the egg sequencer and make it bigger if you want to. But yeah, I ran into another planet, and they were massive, like huge. Like they almost looked like the actual planetary archive. It was crazy.
Hey. Oh, go ahead, Ghost. I knew you were going to say something too.
No, I was just going to say, I'm sorry, your base is loading it. It looks like y'all are just sort of like sitting politely on the ground for me.
Heck yeah.
No, early on, I went to, oh, there it goes. It just formed around me. I think I'm stuck in the wall now, actually. There we go. Early on when like just how they generate, like trying to figure that whole thing out, especially coming right off of Adrift where they kind of played a little bit with how the robotic fauna spawned specifically in that expedition. And I don't know if you had the same experience, but it seems like they've sort of latched on to the other robotic fauna where they generate.
Yeah. So if you have an old planet that had the traditional robot fauna, it might have the new big building fauna as well now.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Now I gotta say the flora, on the other hand, that came back. I don't know if it was it? No, it was way before Frontiers. I forgot. I think I joined before the living ship had come in, but the first Earth planet that I actually went on, it was full of trees, full of bushes, full of everything. And I think after Frontiers, it was just gone. It was just like flat grass and just plain.
Yeah.
And now they brought that back. I'm like, oh, I remember this. So it's like a little bit of nostalgia just coming in, and it feels wonderful. Like I can just go to my base and then just be surrounded by trees, and I love that.
Well, it gives me a lot more, like, it's hyping me up for Light No Fire, because I know that specifically they mentioned the water that they did in Worlds Part 1 was something they were doing in Light No Fire, and they were able to bring it back to No Man's Sky. So I remember when that trailer came out for Light No Fire, I was like, what the? They could do this and they still haven't done it yet? Why? I was just looking at that water like, oh man, they needed, and then they did it. So at the time I was like, oh, it's probably because Light No Fire is on next gen systems, and because No Man's Sky has to run on like a Switch and all these lower end hardware, consoles, they can't do it because they're limited. But no, obviously not. But I mean, maybe I have to go back and really look at that trailer again. It might be that the water is better, and that they kind of brought back a little bit of it to No Man's Sky, but it might be even better in Light No Fire, and that's crazy to me.
Was there fishing in Light No Fire during the trailer? I don't remember.
We didn't see any fishing, but there was a lot of swimming. Like, the swimming animation is still way better than what we have. So I don't know, but it looked better. The other rumor, I guess, is Worlds Part 2 is going to be more focused on the underwater biomes. So they're going to add in more like coral and things like that, because in the Light No Fire trailer, that it was just packed underwater. It was crazy looking. It was so good. And so that's they found some like in-game files they weren't activated yet that were a lot of underwater focused. So oh, that'd be so good.
One of the things I like to, specifically Jason, with that deep dive video that came out with the Part 1 trailer, was sort of that promise of, like, as they're developing technology, being able to roll it back into No Man's Sky. So with that, for me, the hope is, as things are developed for Light No Fire, we'll see other things that get added sort of retroactively back into No Man's Sky. Maybe even to fix the multiplayer. Who knows?
That could be it. Now, Ghost, I don't know how long you've been playing, but there was a time where they said 32 players, and they meant it, because I have screenshots of 32 people on a planet. It was glorious. And then 2 years ago, something just flipped, and they were like, actually, no, it's broken. So you can get like maybe 12 or 16 if you're lucky.
I've been playing since launch, but I've only been really getting into multiplayer since I started doing the channel. So it's just been about maybe a year and a half or so. I do remember. I feel like I remember it being a little bit not so. I wouldn't say not so bad. It sounds a little bit too negative, but not such a hassle to get an instance with people. Like even the other day on BeagleBum's stream, like, it's just he and I in a system, and just trying to see him. No matter what I did, I could not get in the instance with him until somebody else ended up in the system, and then all of us kind of popped in instance together. But that happens a lot. Like, we do community nights on Fridays, and it's just a constant string of fighting the multiplayer issue. And usually, thankfully, knock on wood, usually we're able to overcome. But it would be nice to not have to worry about it so much.
Yes.
It feels like, and for better or for worse, they're kind of trying to streamline the game. Like, going back to the original release No Man's Sky, it felt like there was more variety to the planet types. And then they kind of like, okay, we're going to streamline this, so the variety is going to go down, but we're going to increase the flora. We're going to increase the textures. So you have a benefit in one side, but you're giving up something else. And it feels like they did that with multiplayer. They said, look, everyone's separated. If you're on PlayStation, you can only play in the PlayStation multiplayer. And then if you're on Xbox, you're on Xbox multiplayer. And then they kind of brought everyone together. But doing that also, it feels like it made it way more rocky. Like, you can't do 32 players still. If you're cross-gen, sometimes you can't connect. Like, if you're on Xbox and you try to join a PlayStation player, it just won't work. Still, even though you can see like the bases and things like that sometimes. But it's more rocky because they're trying to put everything together.
Yeah. And I hope with, like, I don't know how much we're getting into speculation or spoilers or like data mine stuff. I don't want to get too much, but I hope with some of the stuff that is sort of being shown as potentially in the future coming up, I hope that some of that is in service of addressing some of the server issues for multiplayer.
Hopefully. So whenever I try to whenever the we have some game files, we have some data leaks.
Oh,
I try to hold it down because I remember in the next update in 2018, they had ship customization. You can literally there was a tool to recolor your starship, and everyone was like, "Oh, it's in there, so it's coming." Maybe it still hasn't been there yet. Technically,
man.
with shipbuilding now, but yeah, not really.
Oh man, when the well, before I go over it, sorry, I'm just like having two thoughts going in my head. Heather, what are your thoughts about the Worlds update so far?
I really enjoy it. I think that what they've done with the water is beautiful, and I enjoy finding the new animals out there, and I'm looking forward to seeing some of this stuff in Light No Fire, because as we know, they're testing it, and I think it's going to be gorgeous. I did lose a purple planet.
Oh.
So yeah, I'm kind of distressed about that. It was my main save on my main character, and I'm looking for another one.
Awesome,
Yeah,
awesome.
I think
You find one with floating islands.
Yeah.
Yeah. I lost I had a pink paradise planet that was my 100,000 subscriber planet that we all built on, and it was awesome. It was beautiful. And I went back to it just to see what the changes were going to be like, and it turned into a yellow planet. I'm like, oh, come on. That was a little bit disappointing. Yeah.
My Discord's capital planet, the water turned orange, but it's not that bad. You can only really notice it from space. And once you actually get the ground, it's sort of like the water in the background of this video. You get the kind of the reflections of the sky. It's not that bad. This is my main save that I started with. The base that I started when at launch, I set it down for a bit, and I came back shortly after Atlas Rises, I think it was. But the base that I started, it was after the universe reset, so whatever that was.
Oh.
I've had this base for many, many years, and it is gigantic. It's at the base limit. Actually, I've had this planet for many years. I moved the base when settlements became a thing, so I built it right next to a settlement. Even now, I can't go to that base. The minute I warp and I crash.
Oh.
So I can get to the planet. I can portal to the planet, and I can get to just on the outskirts of the base. There's some buildings. I can kind of just get a little bit closer to it. I don't know what the actual issue is. I've sent up a Zendesk request and
what
stuff.
What are you playing on?
PS5.
You got to get a Pro, obviously, Ghost.
Obviously. Maybe when I hit that 100,000 subscriber mark.
When you get the lottery, dude. Oh God.
That was it. Yeah, it's 700 and what's it?
700 without a disc drive and no stand. That is.
I thought it was 785, but I'm like, oh my god.
And then you can buy the PSVR Pro.
Don't give them ideas; they're gonna do it.
Dude. Yeah, my wife and I are gonna buy one here pretty soon, so we're hoping to fight anyone on Black Friday on the shelf.
You take out a second mortgage on your house?
I know, right? The other thing I want to talk about too was we were talking about colors with the ships. Someone was doing that as a third-party thing to have someone pay to do that for them.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
It was like a very...
color?
Oh, go ahead, Heather.
Change their ships? To change their ships?
Yes, to give
The
it...
colors.
To give it anything modular and to change the colors, to put a number on it. Of course, this was very limited, but people had to pay to get that, and people were doing it. I stumbled upon it just by watching a YouTube video that came up from the creator. And I was like, wait a minute, people are paying for this? I was like, maybe they'll come out with it soon. Hello Games isn't really gonna just leave people hanging like that. And sure enough, they did, like a month later. I was like, yeah. I mean, it's probably
I know that it's a...
Oh, go ahead.
I know that it's a feature on No Man's App, which is like the service bot, and you can subscribe to their Patreon and get extra roles. I don't know if it's still limited, but it gives you 3 free ones a week, and then you can subscribe to it or whatever and get I don't know. I'm not really sure how many a week you get from there. So it's potentially the pay, but you can do free ones. They have a ship. I don't know if they still do. They used to have a ship sort of selector where you would kind of choose the make and the color and everything.
Yeah.
And then it would send you, I don't know if it sent you glyphs or I'm not really sure how it got it to you. So there's definitely the potential of a pay site there. I don't think it really worked that well. I never really heard anybody that had done it successfully, to be honest with you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it seemed really popular because the Discord they were on, they what you call it? Joshua Clark, thank you so much for the sub. It seemed like a lot of people wanted it, and there was a lot of people on that Discord. So I was like, oh my god, this is like a full blown out thing.
Yeah, well, the people wanted it, yeah, but I don't know if it was successful afterwards.
Okay.
One thing that was interesting that came of adding that mechanic was the really the talk early on about how the ship hunting was dead, how this one feature was going to absolutely destroy ship hunting, which I haven't really seen that be the case. And I think one of the smart things they did was sort of limiting the ships, the ship types that you could put through that ship fabricator.
Yes.
I would still like to see it expanded, but and even having that authentic ship marker on your ship, I guess, is but it's one thing I love about No Man's Sky is it's sort of like the sandbox of it all, and how you utilize that sandbox. And if it's something that you find value in, if you want to go find that authentic ship that exists in the wild, then you have the freedom to do that. If you want to, build, a certain type of ship with parts with these cool, like rare colors, and like there's camouflage, and there's the Iron Vulture skin now, like you have that ability as well. We do all kinds of things with the sandbox that Hello Games has given us, and I think it's nice to have another option, really.
Yeah.
Well,
go ahead.
We talked about that because it's been like everyone's been asking for custom ships for like years, and every time it comes up, everyone there's a group of people who are like, "Wow, it's gonna kill ship hunting," and they're never gonna do that. And so we kind of workshopped it through a lot of my streams. We said, "Look, if you do something to where you have to go find pieces, and that's the only way to build it, then that still forces you to go ship hunting because you're still hunting for pieces." And that's what they did. We're like, okay, this makes still have to build it. Now, you can just save edit and do whatever you want, but if you're going that route, you're going to make a custom ship anyway. So that barrier is there, but it's not really. It's like, oh, okay, you could, if you were going to do that, you're still going to customize your ship anyway. So there's no real loss there.
And it added so if you were somebody who wanted to just build a ship,
oh, I thought there was follow up with that. My bad. What you call it? But building the ships, you have the authenticity for the ships that haven't been customized, and then you still get the cool features of putting together a ship you would like to see in game.
Yeah.
That to me was very special because with the authenticity of ships, you get bonus pay if you sell it. But if it's something customized, I don't want that cheap mess. Here's a few credits for it.
And I love that they introduced that kind of a thing to where it's more valuable. So the ship hunters are still like, oh well, I have a real ship and all this other, and that's good. I think that's really good. They did the same thing for like the fishing. It's like, hey, look, if you want to go, there's rarity of fish and they have bait, and so it's not like just cast out a line and you'll get whatever fish. It's still RNG. It's still like, hey, you have a chance of getting like a legendary or just a common fish, but you can grab all these, you can cook them up, you can release them for nanites. I love that they add all these little features in to make it worthwhile if you really want to do it.
I love that about it too. Yeah, especially cooking the bait. I was like, you can make anything in the bait, and then you see the nutrient processor, and it's like the same 3 types unless you made something special, and then you would put it into the bait and it would come up with different percentages. I think some type of bait where it was like 58% catch, and then I think it was 2% rarity. So I was like, okay, cool. let's just do those odds. Lucky enough that legendary came up on stream, so I'm like, okay, cool, we know what works. But there's so many combinations to go through to see which bait actually works. I wonder if there's like some kind of system that we can do in order to tell us, okay, this is the best bait you're gonna have, versus, okay, this bait isn't so good, but you have more of it to catch certain fish, so here you go.
I haven't jumped into the Assistant No Man's Sky app yet, but I'm willing to bet he's going to have the different baits, because he does all of that stuff on the app, like what you can do in the refiner to make certain elements or materials. So I'm willing to bet he's going to have like your baits and all that, like what bait, how you're going to make the bait and what percentage it is. And I know that they did change it up on me, and I didn't realize how much. They put out a patch, and they were, doing some fixes for like the skiff and all that stuff. And one of the small notes said, well, they modified some of the bait catch percentages. And I was like, okay, whatever. And I got in and played yesterday, and they modified it a lot.
Oh,
they
yeah.
really. So now the foods, like the normal foods, do a lot less. They don't have a very low bonus versus the bait that you make now. So like I kept telling everyone, just go down and, if you kill a couple of fish in the water, it will give you salty fingers, and that's good for storm catching. Well, they removed that in the patch. It's like, no!
Oh, no. Oh, speaking of the patch, not to veer off fishing or anything, but I'm so glad that they fixed the whole freighter issue where you couldn't work through a core or anything. But, yeah, and for some reason that was like very tiny news to people, and then it was just like wildfire. Everyone was catching on to it, and it's like, just don't jump.
I would love to know how many people were affected by that, because I have a feeling that a lot of people don't either bother with it, or they don't know about like just jumping through the center. They just stay in Euclid. If like, especially if you're like a player that just comes back every once in a while, they're not jumping through the center. But like the hardcore guys who are like, I need to get through all 250, 6 or 7 galaxies. And you do it, and you're like, oh, I just lost. Oh, my God.
Man, they come back and then...
Has that been fully...
Oh, go ahead.
Has that been fully patched yet? I know that they fixed the issue that was causing people to lose their freighters, but the last patch note I saw hadn't... I think there was a push for experimental that was going to restore it, but I think the last one that was pushed out that I saw hadn't quite restored it yet.
Yeah, it's I think the note specifically says partially, so I think they
would have went ahead and did that, but no, it's only partially, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah, so it's the problem is fixed. What they're trying to do now is give you back your freighters. So anyone who lost it, they're trying to put in a fix to restore the freighters, and not everyone's getting their freighters back.
Okay. Oh, bummer.
Yeah, so
if you lost it, destroyed freighters not too long ago.
Yeah.
Did all the destroyed freighters from? Oh shoot! What was that? Was that Orbital? What was that? When freighters got the shield revamp.
I think that was
was it after Orbital? No, I think it was was it Sentinel? Because we had the Sentinel ships out. But no, what was the pirate expedition?
Wasn't Outlaws?
It was more that where they started giving the shields. It was when it was when we got the pirate dreadnought.
Yeah.
Was that Orbital?
I think that would have been Orbital when we were able to grab those. Yeah.
Let's just agree that it was Orbital.
We'll say it's Orbital, and if we're wrong, we were actually right.
The chat will let us know. Because there's an issue where you had this destructible freighter now, and then it made their own freighters destructible, so people were losing freighters that way as well.
Yeah.
And I don't know I know that they fixed it obviously, but I don't know if they ever gave people their freighters back fully.
They're back, yeah. Yeah, I think there's probably going to be a certain point when they're going to say, look, we can't restore everyone's because there's going to be so many different variables there that we're going to try, and we're going to get as many as we can, but it sucks.
Just accept the loss and
it gives you an opportunity to get another one.
Yeah, right?
It sucks. But yeah.
Get out there and explore, travelers.
Oh.
Well, I've been out here trying to find your base, Azarath, and I can't.
Oh, I'll come outside.
Are you in multiplayer? Do you have multiplayer turned on? You should see us all.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Hang on a second.
Because even if you can't see the base, you'll be able to see us. Yeah. We're all outside now. I will
Can you see
say,
us better out here?
I generally don't like switch up my character whenever the new stuff comes out, but the jetpack that they gave us for this expedition, it looks so freaking cool. I love this jetpack.
Yeah. I would like love to carry that thing. Oh, Jason's wearing it right now.
Yeah, I purposely used the Looper cape just because everyone hated that expedition. So I was like, I'm gonna wear this thing. I'm proud. That's my favorite expedition. Everyone hated it, but I love that damn thing. But now I'm gonna switch over to this backpack because it's so good.
Yeah, it is. How come yours looks smaller? Mine looked huge yesterday. No, wearing it on my back.
How dare you? It's perfectly sized. Oh.
So that's a good point. So Jason, you really liked Looper. What was everyone's favorite expedition so far?
Oh man, let's see. Yeah, definitely not the expedition where we had permadeath on it.
That was Looper. I love that one.
That scared
That's my
me.
favorite.
It was challenging.
It was so
It
good.
was.
And, we're never going to get another one. There were so many complaints. I guarantee you. Hello Games was like, yeah, we're not doing that again.
It's phase 5 with that tornado. It had no reason to be there.
I know.
And then it's like, oh, you landed too hard. Okay, fine. You're starting the expedition all over again.
Yep,
It's
start it over again.
I was like, yeah, that was fine. It was like, okay, you got the milestone for dying, but it's like, okay, now I gotta do it all over again. Oh.
Yeah, I didn't like that one. There was one where we had to build in a freighter.
Oh, yeah, that one was fun.
Yeah,
That
and
one
I
was cool,
learned
well,
a
yeah,
lot on that
Yes. Well, and that's
Is that
what I
the
love about
Singularity
it.
Drive?
Yes, I think that was one. Because you start off on your freighter and you just have to keep using it throughout. See that?
I can't think of the name of that one, but it wasn't Singularity. But that was my favorite Singularity. I love the lore of No Man's Sky, and I love the way that it came out right after Echoes, and it just tied in so well. My only complaint was that after it, because not everyone plays the expeditions, it was kind of reduced to like half of a step in
It's a pretty big staff.
ginormous. Like the entirety of the story of Singularity was just sort of a blip when it came to the next updates. Like you needed it to progress through the autophage storyline.
Yeah.
Echoes. Was that Echoes? What am I thinking of? Yeah, so like the making of the construct just became this like kind of sort of in passing thing you did. So if you didn't do the expedition, you didn't have that whole like backstory. It just became like a quick little step. But I really liked how the lore was integrated into that specific expedition.
Whole new faction, new storyline. It's got me interested too. Especially with the new currency now with void modes. You don't see those spent or talked about too much since then.
Yeah, well, that's the big thing I kind of like irritates me. Like years and years ago, when the community events started on the weekends, there was actually like storyline to that with Ariadne and everyone on the Space Anomaly, and then they kind of just dropped it. And now
it's still open ended, like they didn't finish.
Oh,
They didn't finish it. They were doing like kind of like semi seasons. Like every couple of months, they would continue the storyline. And then they just stopped it and turned it into, it's a rotation of just random weekend event things now. There's no story or anything to it. And I was like, oh no! But it's like...
We talk about it a lot with the lore. It's like there's so many like just hanging story bits that like as people talk about, like, is this the end of No Man's Sky? I'm like, how are they going to wrap it all up? How are they going to do it?
Yeah. Well, and then they still reference it. They'll talk about like Ariadne on the like the Sentinel Pillars. And you're like, anyone who didn't play it before doesn't know what the hell you're talking about. You mention Ariadne, they're like, what do you mean Ariadne? Like, oh God, no,
right.
you had to be here like 4 years ago.
when are they going to finish these stories? I mean,
I don't think they are. As time goes on, it feels like they throw it out there as like teases, and it's like memory hold. Like there's no way to go back and play those original stories from the weekend missions. You can kind of like it's kind of hidden, but you can do like the Sentinel Pillars, like go through and read all the storyline for that. You can go to all the harmonic camps and kind of get references to the Void Mother, but they're never like in a cohesive place. It's not like the Artemis storyline where you're literally given missions to do it.
Yeah. And that is one of the cool things about No Man's Sky lore is that you do have to hunt for it, just like everything else. Like it's little like tidbits here and there that you have to kind of piece together. I think Sentinel Pillars is probably one of the most like comprehensive sources for the lore. Like it's just as far as the main story involving the Void Mother and everything, it really touches on a lot of different aspects, going from like the beginning of the Atlas to kind of where we are now, and it kind of gives a little bit of a framework for where they might go with all of that, you know, in the form of Null recreating the creator, all that good stuff. But you're right, like from that point, the lore that's been there, that's been coming out since then, has been very vague, and like you're really like struggling to like link it to the greater storyline. Even something like Aquarius, where, you know, the spoilers for Aquarius, if you haven't finished it, I don't know if I should. Is it okay to talk about this?
I think it's okay. It's been out for 3 weeks.
Yeah, if you haven't played, you haven't played.
Plug your ears. Skip this part. So, like, you know, like following this angler and just finding out that he pretty much turned into the thing that he was searching for, right? Like, it just seems very. I'm sorry. There's a beetle that just took out of the water and landed in the water in the background. It's crazy. So like this angler, like being in the water, looking for this thing that it's searching for throughout the little messages in a bottle, only to then turn into this octopus, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's like it's one of those things where like it seems so disconnected from the greater No Man's Sky lore, but then you start to try to like pull on threads where, like, I don't know if you remember this. Do you remember the submerged relic lore?
Yes.
With the glass pearl, somebody for it. And they eventually as well.
Yeah, that's Tales of the Deep, isn't it?
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like while they're looking, they find another one and they pull off their glove and they themselves are transparent as glass. It's like these small little things that you really have to struggle to link together. But once you do, you're like, all right, is there a bigger picture here, or is it just, I think
it's a commonality, and it feels like it might be leading into Light No Fire, because they did the same thing for the last expedition, the I want to call it it's Liquidator's expedition. You're literally following him, and he ends up joining the bugs and becoming part of the hive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so it feels like they're trying to talk about merging. Maybe that's what the Void Mother is going to be with the autophage, is merging into becoming part of the hive. I feel like the Korvax, same thing.
There's definitely a theme with that hive mind going on in No Man's Sky, and they, especially starting with this, you know, Azrath, when you were talking about this, are they going to finish it? Like, they told us that they gave us a, like, yes, 3 of 4, let's do it, you know, like we're expecting some sort of completion of some kind of story in No Man's Sky, whether that's the Void Mother story.
No.
Something has to come to. They're just going to be like, hey, 3 out of 4, and then good luck on that 4.
Dude, Ghost. They said 3 out of 4 last year, and then
I know.
February comes around and it's like, oh yeah, screw that. No, we're moving on. It's like, what? Wait a minute. you were 3 out of 4, and they haven't gone back since this whole year.
Yeah, but
We didn't say when that 4th one was coming out. 2028. Good luck, everybody.
because I want that story to be finished. It's so interesting to get into. Because to me, all the stories in No Man's Sky seem dark, and I'm like, I just want to keep reading and keep reading because it's scaring me every single time I keep reading in depth into this. So I'm like, okay.
Well, I think that we'll see the story arc with the Void Mother. I think we will see something that resembles an end, whether it'll be like a satisfying end that I can't speak to, but with some of the data mine things that have come out, with potential future updates, if they even happen. It kind of points to this growing presence of the Void Mother in the simulation, and like every time she kind of pops up in lore, she kind of gains a little bit more regions over the simulation. She's able to change dissonant systems. Like she has a physical presence that Hello Games have been, you know, showing us as it goes on, and it's been kind of hidden behind milestones and, you know, and progression through the main story. I do think we will see at some point some sort of finish or close, I guess, to that story.
No.
Progression. Let's call it that. I think we'll see.
I don't think
progression
it's
in
going to
the story.
happen. Ghost, I think it's going to be, we're going to keep getting these awesome storylines and they're never going to finish. And then like a year or two or whatever from now, when Light No Fire has been out for a while, they're just going to give us the 16 update and it's going to be the end. And it'll just cut everything off. It'll be like, oh, okay, done. What?
It's gonna like dissipate the black and it'll all have been a dream.
Yeah, exactly. Dude,
You were asleep this whole time. You were in a mental institution.
there is a part of me that I kind of think that just snippets from the Light No Fire trailer really feel like parts of No Man's Sky. And it would be amazing if you wake up from the simulation and it is Light No Fire. Like it's all of the players getting out of No Man's Sky going into Light No Fire.
Interesting.
Nice.
Like Light No Fire is the real world. After you escape the simulation, we're on one planet, we're all out there, and we don't know what the heck just happened. We've been asleep, we've been in the simulation.
And some of us are rabbits.
Yes. And some of us are turtles, and some of us are, badgers.
Anyone got a specified character they're gonna pick for Light No Fire?
Cat.
Rabbit.
I don't know.
Cats eat rabbits.
Not this rabbit.
I like the little fox character. I don't know if there's going to be options we haven't seen yet. Is there going to be a class system? Like, there's so many questions. And we have so little to go on.
Yeah. I would love going back to like the end of finishing No Man's Sky. Way back in the day, before I think it was before Next, maybe it was after Next. When you went from system to galaxy to galaxy, you couldn't go back. Like if you left Euclid, everything was gone. Like they locked you out.
Yeah.
There was no back and forth. Like you can use portals, but you couldn't go back to a previous galaxy. And so I would love for that to happen. It would be the end of No Man's Sky is you go through the center and then you escape. And that's the end. You finish it. You can't go back.
You can't replay the game.
Yeah, literally.
It's
It's permadeath. It just deletes your save. Like, oh no! Damn it!
So let's see the
Interesting.
what's it, Worlds Part 2. Well, I think Worlds Part 2, what Beeble Bum says, it'll show up in October. I'm thinking more of Game Awards, or would that be more of along the lines of Light No Fire? That would be at the Game Awards rather than Worlds Part 2.
That would be probably Light No Fire, and they usually try to do the expedition replays at that point in the year. So the way this expedition is lining up, it should end mid-October. So we'll have that point between like October, November-ish to have another update. And if they did it like last year, we kept waiting for the replays because usually they come out right around middle to end of November. And we didn't get anything. And we're like, okay, what's going on here? And then I think it was December 3rd or 4th was the Game Awards, and they announced Light No Fire, replays at the same time, all of it. So it would, if they do it like that, it might be we get another update in middle of October. And then we wait until about December. I think the Game Awards this year is December 7th or 6th. And that might be another trailer for Light No Fire. And then an announcement for, hey, replays are here and blah, blah, blah.
Hate to sit there for 2 hours and Sean doesn't show up.
Dude, I was the worst. I loved it, but it was the worst day ever because it was like at night. And so I'm sitting there and the show was 3 hours long. And I'm just drinking whiskey the entire time. Like, oh, Sean's going to be here,
boy.
Sean. And then I think it was the last half hour. He shows up, and I'm like already gone. And I'm thinking, oh, he's gonna announce the new update or whatever. And they announce the full game, and I'm like, oh my god. So I'm up until like 3 o'clock in the morning cutting videos for that. I was like, oh my god, this is not the way to do this. But it was good. It was so good.
Whiskey fuel JasonPlays videos.
Oh yeah, you go back and watch some of those videos. You could tell, like, oh, this is bad.
It's funny. I feel like there has to be an update soon. I know people are pointing to October. I haven't totally looked into it too much, but it seems to be like a consensus of a few creators. I know that the last time I talked to Bomber, he mentioned it was like early November the community missions were going through.
Yeah.
So, and we've had our 4 expeditions this year, right? Am I counting it wrong?
Okay, so we
And Adrift,
think so.
Liquidators. Hold on,
Adrift, Liquidators, Aquarius. What's number 4?
shoot, what was the first one?
Are we going for orbital? No.
No, orbital we already did.
I don't think we did.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Which one did we get the? We got the Atlas staff and stuff. For was that a drift we got that through?
Yeah. I
Let's
think.
see. Collected knowledge. Is it in here? No.
Starborn. Is that it?
Starborn.
Was that an actual? That's the name of an actual thing.
Starborn Runner was the, ship.
the
I
ship.
think we had one
Yeah.
for that one. Yeah. Yeah, that would have been February. That would have been with orbital, I think. Because that was the new space stations, the new new ship. the Starborn Runner that said it would hover, but they meant it only when you landed, not when you were flying it. That was the best. Everyone was like, "Oh yeah, we finally get another ship that hovers," and then it didn't hover, and we're like, "What the? Oh, it hovers when it lands. Okay, great, thank you." And then they changed it, thankfully.
I gotta look again to see if it stops at 0. I think it does stop all the way to 0 units per second.
I think it does.
Oh, was it Omega?
Omega.
Yeah.
Omega. Yeah.
I forgot. Where do you
Yes.
find your expedition achievements at? I'm having a brain fart. Like, I know it's in catalog and guide.
Is it under catalog?
I
Oh
was trying-
God,
I
would
was
it
trying to
be?
look the other day. Collected knowledge.
It's like, is it
I
under
mean,
culture?
knowledge.
I looked there, but I was like, I don't see anything. There's like other history, but then nothing shows up there. And then they will return us the autophages, but I don't.
I mean, I know
see
for
it.
sure you can just go to the space anomaly and just check all of them, but I don't know yet from the catalog. I love that they update and refresh this stuff, but I am old and I don't know how to go back to the. I know where it used to be.
Oh, found it.
Oh.
It's in
Where is it?
milestones. You have to go to the left to the bottom, click on something, and it shows you the list of everything in that selected tab. Then you just go over to milestones and then just click on previous expeditions. So
Oh, got it. There it
we've
is.
had Aquarius,
Oh, my.
Liquidators, Adrift, and Omega.
That's our 4. I mean, it's Hello Games. They could easily just be like, "Hey, no, it's 5 this year."
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and technically, I think we had 3 last year, and then they just made up one
Mhm.
for the replays. So yeah, they could
Yeah.
just say, we're gonna go 5s. Screw it. So I would imagine maybe not. Maybe they just do an update like Worlds Part 2, no expedition, and it's gonna be like just cool, whatever they happen to add, and it's that, and then we wait till November, December for the replays.
Not gonna lie, I would rather fish and have that in the expedition than to put out the Nautilon and then go and do the whole treasure thing all over again.
Yeah, the last 2 have been really great. Like Liquidators was like really combat heavy, and even though that combat's been in the game, like we sort of had a little bit of a story to follow. We had new enemies to fight, a new boss battle. That
Yeah.
felt a little more fresh. And then this one was completely different with the fishing. Like the last 2 for me have been like pretty solid hits, just for like it not being the same, this mundane thing over and over again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm wondering why they're doing that every expedition. I'm like, come on, you guys, there's got to be something new you can put into the game. Or like maybe make an expedition a relay race where you can see Jason in his position where like they start off running and then they run
Getting
to the
ready to go.
exocrafts, go like 2,000 units out, and then once they get to the ships, they take off in the ships, and then it's just like this whole race just going on, and then you see who the winner is every single time. You go to a phase, a milestone is like a spot you hit that's a checkpoint. You do that for 5 phases, and then maybe there's a new exocraft at the end. Maybe there's something new that we haven't seen before. I don't know what the prizes are going to be, but I would love to do that, like a little triathlon or something like that.
That would be cool, but it feels like they try to use the expeditions to kind of show off features. Like they did the fishing expedition because fishing, was just added.
Mm-hmm.
So it feels like they try to use the expedition to show what they've added to the game, or like they did a pet expedition where you're trying to get, or companions expedition where you're trying to collect different companions, and it feels like they kind of know what people are doing or not doing and say, hey, no one knows about this. Maybe we should do an expedition to kind of let them know this is a thing.
That sounds more likely.
Yeah. So I mean, whatever they add in Worlds Part 2, if they do an expedition at the same time, like I know Beeblebum is against it. No. They might do a 5th expedition. And you know what? Maybe they do that. They say, look, we need more time, so we'll do an expedition number 5 for this year. And then when we do replays, they'll extend out to February instead of the usual January to give them an extra time over the holidays. Because that's really what it feels like they do. They use that to fill in the gap over the holidays to kind of buffer out. Like, okay, we need time to get the updates ready for next year. So here you go, replay.
Yeah, that and taking some time off. Because they usually do that between, is it mid-December or early December to January?
Yeah, well, traditionally it's been like mid-November, like right around, like if you're in the United States, like right around Thanksgiving.
Oh, okay.
If you're in Canada, it's 1 month afterwards. But yeah, they usually take that time. And yeah, it's probably a lot of, hey, we're on vacation, people are out of the office, so instead of trying to cram and do another update, let's just do replays and we'll come back in January and get it all ready to go for, a February release, because they usually have an update in February.
Yes. But since we're talking about the Expedition, what was everyone's thoughts on Expedition Aquarius?
Loved it.
I'm
Loved
really
it.
enjoying the fishing. Yeah.
Yeah, it was great.
I never thought we would fish in this game, to be honest. Because we're always on the move. And we never actually, sit down and admire what's around us, especially with fish. And I hear people explore on these planets, and they just want to take the time to look at the awe and everything of the clouds, the sky, the plants and everything. But I never take that into consideration personally, because I'm always optimizing my ship, or I'm looking for another location to build the base, or I'm working on an exocraft, something that helps me optimize what I like to do in games sometimes. But yeah, just sitting there, just fishing, it's awesome. I need to start doing this.
Yeah, it's
more.
funny to do it, and then it's also the fact that it's not only that people are doing it, but you can go out there and you can stay in the water and fish and just do that as a stream for 4 hours. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's so much fun. Yesterday I started. I think Delta started doing it as well. Instead of doing a speed run, we're doing a fishing competition where we can get the rarest and heaviest fish. And that's interesting because you're out there just fishing and chatting with your chat, just talking with your chat, and just trying to get a really cool fish. And because it's so randomized, so RNG, you don't know what you're going to get. Even if you're using the best bait or whatever, it's not a guarantee. So you're just chilling. It's so much fun.
Oh my god, the boot you get sometimes, or the downgraded upgrade.
Downgraded upgrade.
I really wish they would have done more with that. I get the thought behind it is, it's been in the water for a while, so it's going to be kind of rusted out and terrible. Mm-hmm. But I wish it was more like the black market upgrades, to where, hey, every once in a while you fish up one of those, and it is the best upgrade you'll ever see.
Maybe there will be one. You just haven't fished it up yet.
I'm hoping, but I have not. And everyone I've talked to, they say no, the odds are really low on that one. So it's basically
try
you're
harder,
getting
Jason.
C class.
Get out there.
I know, I need to start fishing more.
But yeah, I wish they had maybe a repair table to put into your base, so that way when you do fish those things up, you would just put them in there and then work it the best you can to fix it. Either it would turn out to be a C class or B class, A class, S class, maybe even X.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it would be cool even if they would stack on top of your 3. If you had your maxed S or X, and you got these small, if they would stack on top of that, just to give you that little extra bit. It's not much, but for end game type stuff, it's just a little bit more. I think that
I would love that, because I have all the room. My ships are all maxed out. My suits are all maxed out. So I have the room. Let me stack it on top of everything else. Give us the traditional 3 upgrades. That would be great. I'll take that. And part of that, it makes me there's rumors of a new purple system coming, potentially.
Really?
I would love. Oh yes,
That's awesome.
Oh yes, Heather. Oh, I can't wait. But
are we talking about purple systems?
Hang on a second. Dibs. Okay, you all heard me.
No.
You all heard me.
Not if I get there first. But
there's a
pure
lot about the purple
speculation.
systems that came out. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's pure
I know-
speculation. We don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, Bomber's gone down the data mining rabbit hole on this. I did the voiceover for a video, and then I was like, man, I don't know if I should. I wasn't sure if I should do it or not, and I haven't released anything yet. But there's actually quite a bit of information that they pulled out about those purple systems. Bomber specifically has like even modded it into his own game. He hasn't released the mod for it, as far as I'm tracking, but he's like modded it into his own game. He's visited it, and he kind of has an idea of how they're going to generate in using Phantom Star systems and stuff. A lot of information, and that's kind of another reason why I'm like kind of hopeful for at least progression of the Void Mother story within No Man's Sky. That we'll see something there, just because of the like introducing this larger presence of the Void Mother with these purple systems. I think kind of speaks to that a bit. But I'm pretty excited for it. Like, again, love the lore of No Man's Sky, and I just want more.
Yes.
We even my channel, we started doing like role playing RPG D&D style plays with our No Man's Sky characters, just to make lore, just to pass the time until more lore has come in. It's been pretty fun.
Yeah, it looks fun. Every time I'm on there watching you guys, it's like this whole story that's being unfolded. I'm just hooked. I mean, maybe that's just me because I like that whole D&D aspect, but no, it's got my attention.
Yeah, man, you can join the stream and watch us try to open doors for like hours and poke puddles and stuff like that. It's been pretty amusing.
Yeah. Well, on the speculation route, I would love like the rusted out upgrades that you can fish out. I would love the purple systems to be the autophage systems and have it just be like a junkyard of, hey, you can come here, but you can find different like junky upgrades here. Instead of having like in the outlaw systems, they have the black market where you can buy those upgrades. They'll have like an upgrade like junkyard where you can say, hey, here's some rusted out pieces that you can grab. And that's why I would love for them to make it to where it's like, yeah, every once in a while, randomly, you'll get a really good one, but most of them are going to be junk.
Yeah, there's got to be.
And just kind of give them their own,
There's got to be a junkyard planet around here somewhere. And either they haven't released it yet, or they're like, the concept is there, but we don't know. Because
who knows? It could just be a, And again, I think Bomber Boy was the one who found the space station overhauls. And he put out, I don't know if he put out a mod, but there was a mod for it to activate them in your game until they removed all the files for it.
It was the type B files, right? And the people were just starting to put them on, and you could see how well they looked. It's like, oh man.
It's funny though, because even something like that, like Jason, you did a video on that like really early on, and then how long after that video? It was like a year, right?
Yeah, because
we'd given up on it.
They found it in February with the first update of the year. They found these in the game files, and I was like, oh, it's coming. This is going to be the big summer update, and it never happened. And then I was like, okay, maybe it was just like the ship customization. It was something they tried, and they kind of just said, nah, it's not worth it, or can't work, or it's just going to kill the performance. So let's just move on. And then December, they show a trailer with it. I was like, oh my God, okay.
And even knowing about it for like 10 months in advance, we're still like, yes. It's finally coming. Stoked for it. I was so happy. I think
the biggest thing was, it was just the outside. We only knew about the outside. We didn't know the inside was going to get revamped either. I was hoping for that because I was like, look, they haven't changed the inside of the space station forever, but they've added all these kiosks, like the scrap dealer and everything. They just need to do an overhaul of the inside. And then they did. It's like, yes, thank God.
It's just crazy to think they overhauled the space stations to the previous iteration, and Next was where they got like all the little kiosks inside and stuff like that. And then I feel like the space stations have actually. I started going through doing like a rewind, No Man's Sky rewind series, and I hadn't realized just how much they had changed over time. They've actually like changed quite a bit. But there's some like points of interest on planets. We've gotten some new ones, but like all of the old like observatories and stuff, those have been the same. The configurations have changed a bit, but I think those are probably ripe for an overhaul.
That would be really cool. Yeah, well, and a lot of these buildings were designed back when characters did not move. Like no NPCs walked around, and they introduced that later on, but the buildings were the same. Just like the big problem with the original or the older space stations was that the landing pads were smaller, but the ships got bigger. And so you would land and your wings would clip through because the model was too large for the landing pad now. And so they fixed that. They kind of moved everything around. So yeah, I would love to see an overhaul of observatories or anything like that. That'd be awesome.
Like this gigantic building, you just walk in and just in awe of this telescope that's there.
Yeah. Oh, that would be so cool.
Or a manufacturing facility being a manufacturing facility.
Actually have like lines and stuff working. Yeah, that'd be good.
Because when you read those stories that are in there, when you knock over one, you're like, okay, there's like a creature in here and I need to decide whether or not it lives or dies. Or you're just seeing an assembly line of Korvax heads and bodies just being assembled that are just shells. It's like, I want to see that.
Yes. Yeah. Instead of that one standard room every time.
I know. But yeah, something's got to be done about that. I don't know if it would like worsen making the decision on some points, but something's got to happen.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, before the Worlds update, I would have said that it's a trade-off because you like a lot of the updates that we had before Worlds, you would see they added in like the corrupted systems, the dissonant systems, and the draw distance got really small because now they have to add in purple crystals, and as they kept adding more and more, the draw distance got smaller and smaller, and you're like, oh, so there's a limit there, and they're hitting that really hard. And then whatever they did with Worlds, they kind of it's still there, but it's not as noticeable, and it's better, and it's faster, and you're like, okay. So maybe there's not that much of a limit like what I thought. So maybe, yeah, they can go through and revamp the buildings. They have an extra like oomph on the engine now.
True.
Well, we could always hope that, they want to practice something that they're going to put in Light No Fire.
Yeah.
Buildings.
Yeah.
Especially the melee weapons. I'm really hoping they do something with that here pretty soon.
Oh, give
What
us the
melee
Malkin
weapon would you
sword.
get? What would you get in No Man's Sky? What would you put in?
I'd probably go for a sword and shield. I don't know if I'm the long sword. No, a long sword would be a good distance. I don't know if the heavy sword type. I don't think I would do that. It would look cool, but no, sword and shield for me.
No, steal the Halo shield. If you're gonna do that, the energy sword from Halo. Do it.
Because if we had that along with the shield we already have with the multi-tool, I'm like, oh yeah, that would work perfectly. Just don't go out on me in 60 seconds.
Yeah, you know what's great about that too is that playing in VR, you can actually have your shield up, and you can hit the hitbox if you're shooting straight forward, but you can hold your shield up at one set of enemies shooting at you on the side, and you can actually fire your multi-tool off in another direction at another enemy. Like it's actually kind of a cool mechanic that you don't get when you're not in VR.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Man.
If it wasn't for people getting dizzy whenever they watch streams, I would totally do that all the time. Because I would love to sit there and just do combat.
That's
I
the
occasionally
biggest
stream
thing.
VR, but I'm more just like, sorry everybody.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. I keep talking about getting like a VR headset for my PlayStation 5, and I'm like, it's a heavy investment, and I know it's not going to do well on the channel because it's fun to play, but not fun to watch someone go crazy and look everywhere, and like, oh my God, I'm going to get seasick.
I don't know if you've seen, there's this person on Twitter who flies planes a lot in games. So one of them happens to be No Man's Sky, and he does a lot of really cool maneuvers with it. And I'm always wondering, how can we do that when we're sitting here in front of the screen on PC? Because doing it in VR is totally different than what we're doing up here. And I know it's only limited to the WSAD keys, and we really can't do those specific maneuvers, but I'm wondering, when are they going to do that for the ships? I know we just use them for exploration, but I still like to pull off maneuvers whenever I'm taking over dreadnoughts, or if I'm have an enemy pirate behind me that's trying to shoot me down. I just want to do like a 180 loop and then come up behind them and then just pop, and then it's classic stuff like that in these kind of sci-fi games that I really like to do. I know this game isn't like that. No Man's Sky is going to be No Man's Sky, but it's in the game, so I'm like, can we?
Yeah.
It feels a little more possible with a controller. Being on controller, I do like the flight controls a lot better. And I feel like you can do some of that maneuverability to a certain degree you can do it a lot in VR, but man, it makes me sick. It's definitely like take some Dramamine ahead of time.
Yes. Especially with that what mod is it? Or not mod, it's an upgrade. The flight assist override. Oh man, then you can start
Yes.
racing in the ship. Try that out in VR. Man, oh man, I gotta check that out with the Sentinel ships. How it looks in VR. I know it's gonna have the same animations and whatnot, but think of it as jumping into a supercar, and then you usually have the screen on top, and then it just opens up the outside in front of you. Ooh, that looks good.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It is pretty
when
cool.
the Sentinel ships, when they came in, I was like, I never fly in first person unless I'm in a Sentinel ship because I love that into and out of the animation. Oh, it's so good.
I love those ships.
So Sentinel ships. Oh yeah. Well, do you think we're gonna have another new ship come in the game?
I would love a junkyard ship. Give us an autophage like glued together, like something that's worse than the shuttle. That way, I can stop giving crap to all the shuttles. Like I always like, oh, I guess I have to have a shuttle. I mean, trash can. I'd rather walk. But if you can give me like a junkyard, like something that looks like it's all glued and duct taped together, that would be amazing.
It's like the trade rocket duct taped to a cardboard box.
Just got two trade rockets. That way you can propel yourself.
Man, just like a little barge. I mean, not even a little barge. Maybe something medium-sized to kind of look at. Because I know we have all these small single ships, and then we have freighters, which are huge capital ships. We don't have anything in between. Or just like something that's along the lines of a medium-sized ship. Something you can put players on.
I feel like that a lot of the different types of ships are pretty well taken up in game. I mean, there's always going to be more for like a different look or different style. The thing that I'd really like to see, and it's again speculating about Worlds Part 2, like having these deeper oceans. And if you've seen some of the mods, like some of those oceans are pretty deep. I would love to see something more freighter-esque. We talk about this on my channel a bit, like something more freighter-esque for underwater, like a large sub, which gets into like the Subnautica kind of
oh man,
feel. But
you're talking about 100 units and below deep, like dark deep. I would love that too.
Yeah,
like
I think the exocrafts are ripe for an overhaul too. You can just go back through and say, hey, we're gonna maybe not full on ship building, kind of build your own exocraft, but at least go through and say, Rover hasn't been touched for a while, Colossus, all that stuff. Let's add in some more variety to this. And, submarine is very, very small. Maybe make a medium or a large size submarine, a nautical. Yeah, and just do that.
Even if it looks like cool. Something out of Star Wars. But man, yeah, a nice sub. I think the furthest I've been down is probably 93 units deep, and it's deep. It's really deep for what we have now. But I'm more interested in like the large creatures that would be down there in those kind of depths, or whether or not it will be super dark and you're gonna need a light down there to see where you're going or see what's down there.
Yeah,
and maybe some creatures to attack you too.
I would love that. The last update we had for the water was the Abyss, I think in 2018, 2019. So, and that added a lot more to the water and made it a little bit deeper. I would love for when Sean talked about how Light No Fire was going to have real mountains and real oceans, so it's not just walk up a mountain for 5 minutes. It was like it was going to take you a while, and the oceans would be super deep. I would love at least a little glimpse of that in No Man's Sky. Bring it back and give us some really deep oceans. That would be amazing.
Yeah, that's one of the things we did get the taller mountains. Was that Waypoint? I don't remember when that was, but we did get we got the expansion of the ceiling of some of the planets. Like when we got the update that added a planet, and that planet would have that like extreme ceiling, if you could get the tall mountain peaks and stuff. But we didn't really see the oceans get very deep. So I think that would be a fantastic addition, especially with some of the things that have been data mined. It seems like it's on their mind at least. But even some of the unused biomes that we've seen, like there's a little bit of like there's this like ruined biome. You have that Iron Giant point of interest stuff that may never make it in game, but it feels like, again, my love for lore, it feels very lore heavy, and I think that's why I want it so much. Like, there must be a story there.
I have a feeling that we will see it. I don't know if it's going to be this year. Just like the overhaul in the space stations, it might take a year or more.
Mm-hmm.
But like when they put out the trailer for Orbital, and we just got shipbuilding, and the trailer literally had shuttles in it, and we don't have those yet, and it had the color black, and we finally got that. It feels like I don't want to say they're.
You can say it.
Well, I don't want to say that Hello Games is getting lazy, but I think that they're very busy, and so whoever cut that trailer was probably playing on an update version of the game that we don't even have yet, and then they're like, oh yeah, we'll have whoever cut it, and he cut it, and nobody, because they probably been playing this version, they didn't notice. Oh, it has shuttles in there. We don't have that in this update. Oh, it has the color black. So I imagine there's probably a lot more in there, like in the game files that is probably a year plus out that they're kind of tweaking and messing with right now. And they're like, that's good. That's a summer 2025 thing, so we don't need to worry about it yet. Just kind of in the background, work on it a little bit. Mm-hmm. And so I can imagine we're probably going to get the big giants, but maybe this year, maybe next year. I don't know.
I respectfully disagree, Jason. I think they totally know what they're doing, and they're just like straight up trolling us. Like, people are watching every frame of this trailer.
It could very well be. They're just like, yeah, let's just mess with the content. I do think that they do pay attention to the community, simply because I noticed that the earlier expeditions were really easy to speedrun. And they have slowly been tweaking them to where it's almost impossible to speedrun these damn things now. And especially the fishing, we cannot speedrun this thing because of the variability in fishing. And I feel like that is a direct result of us trying to speedrun.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too, because I was waiting for you guys to come up and say, okay, we're going to do this speedrun. And I was like, okay, how are they going to do it with the way that they're fishing and whatnot? And it's like, you can't. It's the fish are going to be the prime factor for you to pass those milestones. And it's going to take a while. Like the fastest...
I would say I've tried, and I've literally had the same exact run, the same exact spots, and they've had a 2, almost 3 hour difference in time just because I'm looking for a stormfish. The storms only happen once in a while. You can't rely on that. And then even if there is a storm, doesn't matter if you're using storm bait or not, you could have a whole storm where you don't get one fish. And it's just crazy.
See, I like that. Having you have a 2 hour speed run just makes me generally feel better about myself. I'm not a fishing expedition.
I was gonna say, I think the fastest I've been able to run it is like 2 hours and 15 minutes, and it's just like, holy cow! And that was like extremely lucky. Like I got everything to almost line up.
Is there a record? Is there like an actual speedrun record for this?
Oh no, we're not even trying. Like at least as far as I know, we haven't tried. Yeah. Instead, we're taking the old man approach. We're just gonna fish, and we came up with the idea of maybe doing a fishing competition where you just try to get the largest fish you can. Mm-hmm. But other than that, it's just like, no, it takes you 4 hours, whatever. This one's not gonna be. And they've slowly been doing that. Every once in a while, they'll throw in a milestone in a expedition, and it's like, this is totally based off chance. There's no way you can run this in any efficient way. There's no way to force it. There's no way to find it immediately. It's just good luck. And if you get it, great. If you don't, sorry, your run is ruined. And they've slowly been doing that more and more.
I guess they just want people to slow down and enjoy, take that time off.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's part of it too, because the other thing I remember, and I would love to go back to the original. You can with mods. The original Pioneers expedition, #1. I remember taking 20 hours to do that one. And I was like, now, I wasn't trying to speedrun or anything. I was just doing guides and everything on it. Mm-hmm. So if I was trying to speedrun it, you could probably trim that down. But it was like a really intense expedition. And then they kind of just streamlined it to where now it got faster and faster. And part of that is probably because we were trying to speedrun it, and so we got better and quicker at doing it. But I think part of it was they wanted to use that first expedition as like the standard of, this is what we're going to do. And then they're like, whoa, actually, that's a lot of work, and it's going to take us a lot longer than 2 months. So let's streamline that a little bit.
So if you had the choice, would you want an addition and an ending to the Abyss storyline if the whole underwater ocean things comes into effect, which means deeper oceans? Or would you want more of a 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea kind of storyline?
20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. For sure.
Yeah,
For me.
I tend to agree.
Yeah, I think so too.
It would make more for an interesting. I'm sorry, an interesting story, in my opinion. Nothing wrong with Abyss.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong at all. I mean, they still gotta finish that up, but having something just lurking in the background, you can't see it until like the very end of the milestones.
And I feel like that's more of the style of what they've been doing. They don't want to show you the thing. Like we've been talking about the Void Mother forever, and we haven't seen her or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that's more of their style. They don't want to show you the thing. And I would argue they're never going to. They're going to tease it, and it's going to have a to be continued, and it's never going to continue.
Yeah, I talk to Steve about this every now and then, Captain Steve, and I'm like, it'll probably just be like a reskin of what the Atlas. Like if they ever were to show it, it would just be like, oh, it's the Atlas, but it's purple.
But it's purple. Yeah, exactly. No, I have a feeling the Light No Fire trailer has an Atlas analog, the hand holding up the red orb.
Mm-hmm.
I have a feeling that might be something similar we see with the Void Mother. It's going to be... I know this is all speculation, but I have a really strong suspicion they are trying to end off No Man's Sky and have it lead into Light No Fire, because there is so much crossover there that if you look at the trailer, you see all these things that are kind of linking together, and you're like, okay, this feels like... If you did not tell me that was a Hello Games game, like they weren't making Light No Fire, that's the first thing I would have guessed was, man, this is very similar to No Man's Sky. So
yeah, the design language is pretty. It seems pretty close. My only worry, the only thing that kind of steers me away from them connecting them, at least like in a very overt way. I've always said like, we'll play Light No Sky. Listen, we'll play Light No Fire, and then we'll mine an artifact, and it'll be like a Korvax casing, and they'll never say anything about it. There'll just be this like random thing that pops up.
I prefer that. If you're just going through the world and there's no references at all to No Man's Sky, and then you just happen to run across like a Viking dagger or a Korvax casing, you're like,
right.
What is this? What? And they just don't mention it. They no one talks about it.
We don't know what we knew, but we knew it.
Yeah.
Oh, I bet there's gonna be a few Easter eggs in there. It's gotta be.
Yeah. What about replayability for like if they make it's like making No Man's Sky 2, right? Like if they were to make a successor game, like what does it do for the replayability of and just their profitability from No Man's Sky? Like, and we've seen it with Hello Games before. We've gone into this in videos in the past, but like, having did my headphones just die? Of course it did. Can you still hear me?
We can still hear you.
Yep.
Can you hear us?
Perfect. All right.
Okay.
All kinds of tech issues. Like having the replayability is one thing, but like they need that financial security when rolling a new game out, because rolling out any game, even though it's like highly anticipated from many of us, is a gamble,
Mm-hmm.
So having that financial success going to continue and still investing in No Man's Sky and still gaining profit from No Man's Sky, I think is going to really secure their business as they go forward into Light No Fire. And then once Light No Fire becomes a smashing success, as I'm sure it will be, then they can make the decision on what they're going to do with the ending of No Man's Sky or the next iteration of No Man's Sky. That's why I'm a little leery to say that they're going to be connected. Although, in my heart of hearts, I hope there's some like fantastic lore that just like smushes them together, or just like you get like this random, Korvax casing.
I have a slightly different view on that, simply because they've never charged for any DLC or anything in the game. You buy the game once. If you bought it at launch, you've never had to pay for anything in 8 years.
True.
And so it's more, and especially with Hello Games being a very small team, I think there's still under 50 people working at Hello Games. And so I think that they've reached a point where they're like, look, No Man's Sky, it sold well on launch. It kind of took a dip after that because people hated it. But then probably 2018, you see a huge bump again. And so they probably have gotten to the point where they're like, okay, we've hit the ceiling on No Man's Sky. There's always going to be new players, of course, but we've kind of hit a ceiling on it because they released the Nintendo Switch version. They released a version on Mac, but that was technically a Steam version that you still got if you had a Mac, you just had Steam, you're good to go.
Mm-hmm.
So they've kind of sold. They made a PSVR 2 version. They've kind of sold through, and they're like, okay, we've hit the limit. Like, there's always gonna be an influx of new players, but for the most part, our peak has hit probably in 2022 when they released the Switch version. And then they're like, okay, so what do we do now? Well, if we release a new game, we can kind of move over to it. And then, yeah, they talk about how they have separate teams for Light No Fire, and they have a separate team for No Man's Sky. But the fact that they are bringing stuff from Light No Fire back into No Man's Sky, you have to think that, okay, the team working on Light No Fire is doing a lot of work. And then they're like, well, actually, this is how we did it. So you could just pop it right into No Man's Sky if it makes sense.
Yeah.
And it'll be to a point where it's like, all right, everyone needs to move on because that'll be the new replacement No Man's Sky. So No Man's Sky will always be there, and I have a feeling they will support it after Light No Fire comes out, but it'll start turning into not every couple of months updates, maybe twice a year, every 6 months. And then it'll turn into more, hey, we're just doing expeditions. We really don't have any more content here because we want to put that focus on Light No Fire, but here's a new expedition to kind of run. And then, just slowly move away from No Man's Sky because honestly, for me, it felt finished last year. And the fact that they've gone through and revamped it, I love it. But if they would have just closed, like if Hello Games closed their doors and said, okay, we're done, last year, No Man's Sky would have been amazing still. A finished game for me, anyway.
You bring up a good point too with like how their profit margins may have started to dwindle just based on new player base. But do you think, because to me, like No Man's Sky, how it was received at launch and all of these free updates in this 8 years, it feels like very much in service of making it up to the players. Like they're making it up to players that weren't even playing back when people were disappointed in the game. Yeah. But do you think that Hello Games in a way has set themselves up for the next game? Do you think that the updates for Light No Fire will remain free? Do you think that they're going to continue that trend because that's what they're known for? Or do you think that they'll start charging?
I think so. I think it'll be free updates that they do for the next 10 years. Mm-hmm. Because the way that they've structured their own business, I think Steve has gone into it. They have been profitable, like majorly profitable for the last, I think, 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
And so it's like, when you don't have a big payroll, like, Ubisoft or EA, you have to pay 1,000 plus 10,000 people. You need to sell games constantly and DLC because you need to have that revenue. When you have 50 people and you have however many millions of pounds or millions of dollars in the bank, you can say, okay, we're kind of going through some of our savings, but overall, we're still a healthy business. Every month, so many, this many people are buying a new copy of No Man's Sky, whether it's on Switch, Xbox, PlayStation, whatever. And so it's more about moving on to the next thing simply because, not because the finances are getting bad. I don't think that's the case at all. I think it's more of, once they release Light No Fire, that is quote unquote the new thing. So why would I buy the old, No Man's Sky? I want to get the new thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so you're basically cutting off any game they make. Doesn't matter what they do. If they would have made a Joe Danger game, that's going to kind of cut off the previous thing because they have a new game to sell. And kind of, Joe Danger is kind of a bad example of that, but Light No Fire is very similar from what we've seen to No Man's Sky. It's going to have more of a, an old, not a space theme. It's more of a fantasy theme. Mm-hmm. But it's in that same realm. And so I can't even imagine how many people are going to jump from No Man's Sky to Light No Fire. I know I'm one of them. I want to. I'm going to always play No Man's Sky, but Light No Fire is really piquing my interest. And I think a lot of players are feeling that. Like, hey, I love No Man's Sky, but I want something new. I've been playing this game for like 7-8 years.
Oh my God. Yeah, has it been that long?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you're going to see a lot of movement. Yeah. And so when you do that, you're kind of cutting off. And there's always going to be people who are like, oh, I don't like Light No Fire. It's not my my thing because I want more planets around. You know, they're going to be players that stay with it, but how many versus how many move over?
Yeah, No Man's Sky is definitely like the cozy sweater of video games for me. No matter what I'm excited about, I just always end up back here. And I imagine to a certain degree that's going to happen with Light No Fire as well. I do hope it's just like this other game that scratches this different itch of the fantasy world, especially if it has the same mechanics and a lot of the same features as No Man's Sky. Like, I think it'll be a hit for me personally, but I do think I'll always come back to No Man's Sky. We found a community there, and I think that community is easily translatable to Light No Fire, but I do intend to play both. I am very excited about it, though.
No, I want everyone to move over to Light No Fire so I can start winning these speed runs in the expedition. If no one's playing, I win by automatically.
Oh, and what I'm also wondering for Light No Fire too is the hunger and thirst. How is that going to work? Because in No Man's Sky we sort of have that with food, but it's not really used as well as it should be. I don't know how people would feel if they had to eat every 5 to 10 minutes and drink, but I'm hoping with Light No Fire, maybe it's going to be enough to get players into the groove of having to make food and starting to cook and everything, rather than just going, well, don't need it.
See, for
we kind of have a system similar like that. Like, we don't necessarily eat and drink per se, but we are constantly recharging our exosuits, hazard protection, and our life support. And it's really just the same mechanic, sort of with a different, a different name associated to it. So I think that mechanic is going to be similar. Now, how they pull it off, if it's going to be cooking like we have currently in No Man's Sky, and you have to eat specific foods to that, I don't know. But like, I think it's going to be a mechanic that's probably easily transferable. I think it's something that would have been cool to be introduced to No Man's Sky, just because we have the cooking mechanic it does stuff for you, sure, but like I don't use it personally a whole heck of a lot. I tried with a certain playthrough to do it, and it's really just not that efficient. You can't do it quick. If you're like, on the fly, like in a battle or something, you can't just quick recharge with food. So I think that there is some potential for that to be expanded in No Man's Sky. But I think it's something that we could easily transfer to Light No Fire.
Yeah. Well, I think that it's going to be I think that for lack of a better term, Light No Fire is going to be a skin of No Man's Sky. I feel like there's going to be a lot of crossover of, you don't have life support gel, but you just grab any random food and you eat it and it refills your life bar. You'll have a slow drain just like in No Man's Sky. And sure, if you want to stop and cook, and you can get a bonus of, you have like a stamina bonus if you eat this particular food. But if you never eat it, doesn't matter. And we'll see something like that. I don't think it's going to be an extensive overhaul. Like, I don't think they're going to go into a deep, like it's a huge RPG with a skill tree. I don't think that's going to happen. It is probably going to be more in line with what we see in No Man's Sky. You're going to run around. If you just want to grab a potato off the ground and eat it, that'll fill your life support. Doesn't matter. You don't have to cook it. You don't have to do whatever. But if you want to go into those, then you can. And same thing for like... Yeah, I hope it's a potato. I ate it. And same thing for like a skill tree. I don't think we'll see a skill tree. I think that we're gonna get just like in No Man's Sky. You have your armor, and then you'll have upgrades for your armor. So instead of having like a shield upgrade, you'll have metal plates that you can put on your armor, and it'll be the almost one-to-one kind of transfer over. If you're a No Man's Sky player, it'll feel very comfortable. It's all speculation. I have no idea, but that's because for the last 5 years they've been working on Light No Fire, and if they were gonna add in something like that, I think we would have seen it, some version of it in No Man's Sky, because out of the blue they added in staff building in No Man's Sky. Like, this is a space game and we're making staves now? Okay. So I think that we would have seen some kind of there's an update with a skill tree or whatever, and I don't think I really doubt. I mean, maybe they do. Maybe they go in a whole different direction, but I have a feeling it's going to be very similar to the way No Man's Sky works. Get in your character, and maybe you there's a certain, like a shop you can go to buy more backpack storage. That's how you increase your inventory. Things like that. And instead of a tech inventory, you have an armor inventory. So you're adding your armor in there. or your equipment inventory. So you're adding your weapons and things in that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I
one
hope
thing I hope
Jason-
that they are. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So it's just that I hope Jason's right about the food in Light No Fire. I kind of resent it when games make me cook.
No, you don't, Heather, because you don't cook. I cook.
I know. I try to avoid it as much as possible, as in real life. And I find it, I guess, relating it to the stuff we have to keep refilling in this game, that I can handle most of the time. It's as long as it's not more involved.
Yeah.
For me.
And I don't think that Hello Games has never done that for No Man's Sky. Like, well, when they first introduced food and the ability to cook, everyone thought, oh, it's going into survival. Now we're going to have to eat. We're going to have a hunger and a thirst bar. And that never came about. They don't even have a mode. Like, if you go to survival mode, it does not give you a health bar or a hunger bar or a thirst bar. And so I don't think that they'll have that deep of a requirement. Like, oh, you have to cook this or else you'll die. I think it'll be just like No Man's Sky. It's your hunger or your health slowly dwindles, and if you want to, just grab whatever's around you and eat it real fast, or have a stack of leeks or whatever it is, and you can just pop those if you want. And if you want to feel fancy, just like in No Man's Sky, you want to cook something and get your jetpack boost higher for like 30 seconds or whatever, or your jump or your stamina, whatever it happens to be, then you can, but it won't be a requirement.
Yeah, I mean, with No Man's Sky, it's you can cook all of these fantastic dishes, and they've been slowly expanding those recipes over the last few updates. But like, if you're in a pinch, like, you can just eat that raw, scaly alien meat and be fine.
Yep.
Nothing to worry about there.
Right.
One thing I was going to say, I do hope that they do. I hope there are some innovations around Light No Fire that we don't see in No Man's Sky, just so that there are some, like, again, expectations versus hopes and dreams. But I do hope that there's like some pretty fantastic innovations that are just new and fresh, that make Light No Fire feel like its own thing and not this No Man's Sky. I don't know what's less than 1 point, like a prequel to No Man's Sky or whatever.
No Man's Sky with a skin on it. It's like, oh, it's a fantasy skin.
Yeah, but I hope that they do, like, a huge innovation I want to see is something around like taking quests and how they sort of dish out their missions. I'm not a huge fan in the way that it's dealt with in No Man's Sky currently.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the idea of like roaming this Earth-size game that like I don't have a solution. I don't have a specific thing I hope. I just hope that they have a better idea on how to manage that feature.
Yeah. Well, along those lines too, I hope that they find a way to integrate future updates into it. Like, the big failing I feel like in No Man's Sky is that they just stack everything on top. So when the Outlaws update came out and you have the new storyline for the pirates, for the Outlaws, it's not integrated in the storyline. It's not anything. It's just a random occurrence that you run into. Same thing with Dreams of the Deep. Same thing with, all these things are just piled on top of, and if you're not exploring or you're not paying attention, you won't even notice them, and so you can totally miss all this stuff. And I wish that I thought when they did the 4.0 update, the overhaul completely, I thought, okay, this is their chance to kind of add it in, like as you're doing the Artemis storyline. They give you a base building mission, like, well, you have to work on your base for Apollo and things like that. What if they said, oh, there's a weird, they kind of integrate all of this together into that storyline or something like that. But they never did. And so it feels like it's very randomized and jumbled versus it's a cohesive story that kind of goes together.
Right. So more side quests and just one main quest that has nothing to do with the side quests.
Yeah.
But I do hope they have a skill tree, though. It doesn't have to be anything sophisticated like a major RPG game. Something that leads along the lines of progression. Because and one of the things No Man's Sky, a few players like to look for is progression if they're doing well in the game, because we have our upgrade system from C class being the lowest tier all the way up to S or X class being the highest tier. And once you've hit that spot, okay, I've done what I need to do in the game. I got the progression I needed. I can move on towards end game, whatever your end game is in No Man's Sky, because No Man's Sky is whatever you want it to be. But for Light No Fire, I hope there is in terms of the weapons, the cooking, the armor. Because what it looks like we're gonna start off with clothing at first, but we do end up getting these shields, these weapons, or maybe it might be a magic class. Is that something you can do if you're just a sword and shield user, or maybe you can do that with any weapon, or just maybe just with staff and you pick this class and then that's it. So it would have to be a little bit of progression within a skill tree, right?
Well, I would hope. I mean, and this is all like speculation stuff, but maybe they can implement something like what Valheim does, to where when you first start out, you have 0 in everything, and then as you run, you gain skills in running, and that doesn't. You don't have to pick a point or anything like that. As long as you're doing it, you're using that skill, it increases, and as you progress higher and higher, like for running, it uses less stamina, and you can run faster, and that's it. And so as you're using these weapons, like as you use your sword, you do more damage per hit, and you're more efficient with it as you use it. So when you first use it, you're doing less damage. But when you have a character that gets to level like 100 in running, you can run forever, and you're jumping higher and all this other stuff because you're level 100. So maybe they can implement something like that, like in the background of, well, you can use a sword and shield if you want to, but if you want to switch to a mage, your skills are going to be very low, and it's going to suck at first. And it kind of gives you a point to use that one character. And it's not something you can buy. So I feel like a lot of the players I talk to, they kind of burn out on No Man's Sky because they farm for a whole bunch of money, they buy all the stuff they want, and then they're done. There's no incentive to keep playing because I got everything. I bought everything. If it's something you have to earn, then you have to keep playing. And so there's a point where you can be, oh, I need to get to level 100 and whatever. And you have to earn it as you use it.
Oh, okay. I like that.
Yeah, I'm a fan of that as well. Like this, having to earn it and not having like a quick way through. But getting back to what you're saying, kind of about the quest and kind of wishing that they're more connected, I kind of feel almost the opposite. Like I wish that there were just these quests out in the world, and that the only way, and again, maybe they're not detrimental to gameplay, but I wish that there is the only way to actually find these stories was through like, exploration. Like, like Dreams of the Deep take to this abandoned underwater place, right? And like, I wish that we didn't get a call on our ship to go find that. I wish it was just through natural exploration that you happen upon something like that. And hitting that first terminal is what kind of triggers those missions. I think that would be cool for Light No Fire, just to keep the exploration going. Because at some point, when you're going through the game and you've hit endgame, like there isn't as much of an incentive to just explore and look at new planets. Besides just the beauty and the love of doing so,
Right.
Like it gives you, you don't actually know what else is out there. So with each update, as they're introducing potential new stories and potential new things for you to find, like there's always that hope that there's something else on the horizon that you can go out and find that's gonna shed light on what's happening in the universe. I would constantly be out there looking for more lore.
Yeah, well, and I think that works more with like a single planet kind of a scenario, like Light No Fire. The problem I think that pops up and crops up with No Man's Sky is that there are a billion kajillion planets, and so you have to have some kind of a system because, okay, in order to get Dreams of the Deep, you have to go to this one planet. It's like, I don't know about that, because then I'll never find it. What if I'm on the other side? And so it's more of, I mean, yeah, maybe connecting it to the first time you interact with like an abandoned building terminal. It kind of fires off. You get a signal and you go after Dreams of the Deep or whatever.
Yeah, you just follow to the next.
Yeah, but the other issue with that is if I go to a planet that has no water and I interact with an abandoned building, is that going to give me one? And so it's like, ugh, or is it going to mark some random planet that's not here or not even in the system? I go to a system with no water in it and I have to go to a whole nother system for Dreams of the Deep. So I feel like it kind of breaks down like that. And so maybe there's no like perfect way to do it. There's probably better ways, but no perfect way. Whereas in like Light No Fire, you can like, okay, we know that, if you spawn here, we can put in a terminal in the nearest cold region. And there's a cold, there's an icy mission we do. And the first time you walk into a cold region, boom, there you go. There's the mission. It triggers.
Oh.
So you kind of, because you're locked on one planet, you don't have to worry about, oh, I have to, there's no possibility of, oh, there's a planet with no water on it. So sorry, you don't get Dreams of the Deep or whatever.
There still might be large areas with no water.
Yeah, if you spawn up in a desert or something, you'd be like, oh, God, well, you walk for a while.
Yeah, no, I anticipate having to do an awful lot of walks to really get my planets.
Oh,
I have a bet with Zane, because the way that that Sean Murray's talked about it is that it's an Earth-sized planet, like massive, massive, massive. And my brain can't comprehend how big it has to be for every player, because at this point, millions of people play No Man's Sky
right
on every platform. Is there going to be enough room for all of us? I know that like on Earth we have billions of people, okay. But you're going to program that large? I have a feeling that it's going to be a flat plane that just goes out forever.
Yeah, I feel similar, like very much like Minecraft infinite map type of stuff.
Yeah, and so, but Zane thinks it's actually going to be a sphere. And if you wanted to, you could walk all the way around it. And so I'm going to make the flat earther playthrough of, I'm going to reach, either I'm going to reach the end of the map where it just stops, or I'm going to circle all the way around the sphere.
But man, we're talking Earth size though. So we're looking at players who are going to be on the other side of it too. And like, is there going to be any way those players can meet? And then we're talking about a massive amount of players being in that one spot. I think they can do that with rapid elasticity though. So when another user comes in, then that server expands, and then it just keeps growing until it meets the requirements. So that way they're able to do that as a whole. But I don't know whether or not they would have any lag or any trouble with mechanics and whatnot if they were to go that way in terms of server not server repair. What's the word I'm looking for?
I have a feeling it's going to be like No Man's Sky. They're going to use procedural generation to make the entire planet. So the planet is already made, and then it's quote unquote undiscovered. Like no one's seen it before, but the game knows what's here and what's there. And they'll probably have like portals like we have now. Maybe it's an old magical ring that you walk through. And you can go through and they link to each other. That way people can meet up in certain locations, just like in No Man's Sky. But it's already made, and so they know. Like the difference between like Starfield and No Man's Sky is that if I find a planet and you find a planet at the same time, it's the same exact planet. It's already pre-made. It's just been undiscovered. So the game knows what it is. It knows it's a poison planet. They know where the buildings are. All that kind of stuff. It's been generated. Whereas in like Starfield, if you try to pick a spot, it just lands and it pops whatever it wants down there. It knows, oh, it's an icy planet, and then we're just going to randomly generate 4 buildings around. And it's on the fly kind of thing. So I think that it's going to be more instance than like that. Whereas in No Man's Sky, it's just, okay, we can get up to 32 people at once. So even if like you and I are both in the same exact area, we might be in different instances. So we can't see each other, but it's the same spot. It's the same region. It's the same. We see the same flora and fauna and rocks and buildings. We just can't see each other.
Oh, okay.
I'm just going to throw this out there.
Oh, go ahead.
8,313 hours and 20 minutes is how long Google says it'll take to walk around the planet Earth. So you have to parse out your streams.
I was going to say, that's going to be probably a good like 9-10 months of streaming for like hours and hours and hours a day. That's all right. It'll be I will be the one guy doing it for like 5 years. Like, all right, I'm doing it. We're going to reach the end.
You can't walk around Earth because there's too much water. I wonder if there'll be less water on this planet.
Oh, no. They said it was going to be really deep ocean, so I'll swim it. I don't care. Yeah. I'll bring in my food with me.
You can have deep oceans, but they don't have to be as large as the Pacific, which is half the planet.
I don't know if they would. I mean, maybe they have. You can make a water city out there.
At least at least ride a dragon or a bird out there.
Yeah. Well,
that's interesting. We don't know what's going to be underwater in like No. I mean, we saw like some glimpses of like swimming in a lake and stuff, but like if there are oceans, what's in store for us underneath those oceans?
Under the water.
We have no idea.
Oh yeah, we have boats too. That's right.
Yeah. And that's the thing is, there's boats. You can jump on a dragon and just fly over it. So would it be you need to walk the whole way? Because I know that people have walked across No Man's Sky entire planets in like 16 hours. So theoretically you could. I don't know if I would. I might break down on like the second or third week and start flying with a dragon. Like, oh, screw it, I can't do it.
Oh man, some of those mountains were pretty high up, especially where that that base was. I'm like, how high are they willing to go?
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, you would think that, at least in like game design, you wouldn't want a lot of water. But I mean, we have water planets in No Man's Sky. Maybe they say, hey, look, this one is we have an ocean that's miles and miles, hundreds of miles wide. So if you want to make a city out here, you can. Just have a floating water world out there.
I can't wait for that.
Yeah, or like there's these points of interest that we've seen in the trailer that look like established, like the one with that large like troll thing and the rabbit foot soldiers and stuff like that. Maybe there'll be some sort of water-based civilization to be explored, and it's all about, what they put out there, like where your points of interest are. Are they generating different quests for you to take? Like, what's the benefit for you to explore those areas? It's just a different type of biome to explore.
Yeah. Well, and then the big question I would have is, do they have, like for Artemis, you do the Artemis storyline in No Man's Sky, it doesn't matter where you start, it will just mark the nearest random thing. Like, they mark specific locations, but it's always like, oh, it's a random crash ship on here. It's never the same spot for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Would they go through and say, okay, there's a storyline in Light No Fire, and there are designated spots on the planet. So if you happen to spawn in halfway across the world, you're going to have to find a portal of some kind and get here, because this is the one spot for the story. It doesn't change. It doesn't move.
And because they have the different biomes.
Yeah.
How are they going to do that?
Yeah, it feels like that would be rough for the players. I mean, personally, I think that would be really cool to have to go that distance and find ways to do it. I don't know that they would force the players to do that.
Yeah, I know. Well, unless you made portal travel one of the early things you learn, and that way you're able to travel around easier and say, okay, there are main portal hubs that you go to. Like, they have one in the Space Anomaly. They have a portal hub at the space stations. They have the big portals that let you go to other space. So maybe there's a portal system, and it says, okay, here are your main cities. Those are your first, 5 options. And then if you make a base or whatever, you can put down a portal, but they come after that. But you have your main story point cities are here. They're always at the top of the list.
And that would be a great way to kind of force, there's going to be a lot of land to cover, and having sort of these centralized points of interest would be a great way to kind of force players together.
Yeah. Almost like a expedition where we all start on one planet.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I have a feeling when they started doing the expeditions, and especially when they did our base building expeditions where everyone's building on the same planet, it felt like a test of how do we design this system? Because there's they're not going to show everyone's base at the same time. So it was more of how do we get the servers to only show this many, and how do we rotate it, and what's a good way to do it? And so it could be something like that where they have hubs, and you can make a base here nearby, but they're not going to show them all, or there's going to be limited amounts or whatever.
I think they have to do the portal thing with like a rune or something, where you have to go out and explore the rune and maybe go through a small temple or dungeon or something like that and get it. Then once you have it, you're opened up to all these areas like the savannah, and then a forest, or maybe a rainy area because you're looking for something specific, but you're able to get that piece of what do you call it? The main quest item.
Yeah.
They just get that early and then move around as you please.
Well, and then all the glyphs in No Man's Sky have designations for different locations. So what if you have to find the desert glyph in Light No Fire? And that unlocks the desert region. And then you have the water region or whatever. That would be pretty cool.
Would you have those in different temples, so that way you could actually go to it rather than...
Yeah. That would be awesome. Yeah, because you have your different temples, and then once you've unlocked it, you can go to another temple, but you won't be able to unlock that glyph ever again. You have it unlocked already. Instead of a grave.
In the trailer, they had that where they're up in the mountains and it was kind of windy. They had those flags up there, and they had like spiraling kind of symbols on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There may be something with that. as far as
Yeah.
like finding the location.
And it would force you have to find a temple in that location. Like if you want the water glyph, you have to go to the water temple. And so it kind of forces you to visit that location first before you can fast travel to it using a portal.
Man, I hope someone at Hello Games is writing this down.
No, you know what? They're not writing it down. They're just like, yeah, we got that. Check. Yeah, we did that. Check.
Oh man, the Legend of Zelda memes with No Man's Sky. Yeah, with No Man's Sky in terms of lighting up
As long as
fires.
they don't have a water temple with a hook shot, I'm good.
Oh, it'd be a nice Easter egg though.
That would be good.
Man,
There-
go ahead.
There's so many like Easter eggs that they throw in, and I really appreciate it. Like when they did the Liquidator expedition, and it was all just Starship Troopers.
Oh,
It was so
Mhm.
good.
dude, like,
Yeah, I still think that the ending to, was it Beachhead? The Beachhead expedition with the Normandy. I
With
still
the
feel
Normandy?
that was like the best ending. Like you hit the end, the music cues, the Normandy just like warps right into the atmosphere of that planet that you're in. Just that visual, like I feel like nothing has felt like. I feel like typically expeditions just like, all right, well, now it's done.
That's
good
done.
job. The screen pops up, but that felt like an actual like sort of a moment that you have when the expedition's over.
Yeah. Again, I feel like they put a lot of work because I think that was the second, or was it the third expedition they did?
I think that was the second one.
yeah,
Pioneer
it was the
first.
second.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah. So I
the-
feel like that the early ones they did a lot of work because it was a new thing, and now it's kind of just like an add-on thing. Like I love, Liquidators was good. The Aquarius, this fishing is good, but it feels like an add-on versus like this is a whole separate thing of
Yeah.
we custom built this and it's cool
Oh man,
because we have the Pioneer expedition was like huge. I wonder if they'll ever let us like in game actually rerun the expeditions somehow.
I was waiting for that. I was really waiting for that, and then they never did it. I was so disappointed. I was like, oh.
I mean, it still
man.
might come. I think it's coming because they put it in the terminal, so now you can start it. So I think they're taking steps to do it. It just,
And people are modding it in too, so
yeah. So, I think and who knows how they feel about it. But I think the problem is, once you've done an expedition for like the 6 weeks, everything has been found, everything has been done, everything has been named. There's so many communication stations at the the rendezvous locations, and so it kind of ruins some of the appeal of it. It's like, okay, like for some of the milestones, it's hey, go find a creature with a blood toxicity of a certain level. The first week, it's like, oh my god, where is it? And then everyone finds it, and it's like, okay, go to this planet, and they even name the planet poison animal here.
yeah.
Well, that kind of ruins it a little bit.
Or they can do the fun thing and just have that milestone be glitched, so you're like looking around for like days.
Sorry, you already scanned a toxic animal that was higher than it is, so you're screwed now. You'll never get it.
Yeah, right.
Trying to find that. I forgot which expedition it is. They wanted you to find a perfect planet. So I'm looking for this like paradise, this really nice planet with this really nice sky, and I'm like, okay, I'm here, and then the milestone never comes up. I'm like, okay. Then I have to stop by this very muddy, very ugly planet, and then it's like, you got the milestone. I'm like, this looks nothing like a perfect planet.
What?
Voyagers,
That is
right?
another thing. That's the thing they do. They will word things in a way that it feels like once you know it, it makes sense. But reading it at first, like when they said the Starborn Runner can hover, everyone was like, "Oh, awesome!" No one assumed that was because when you land, it hovers. They thought when you're flying, you can stop it and hover. And there's a lot of that kind of stuff. Hey, find a paradise planet. It's like, oh, I know what a paradise planet looks like. No, not that one. Actually, this one.
Well, perfect is subjective, I suppose. So
Yeah.
True, very true.
Well, I looked at the list of expeditions that I've done, and I know I had missed the first year, but I have Pioneers checked off. from
Yeah,
'cause
that
we
was
did,
that was one of the replays, right?
Yeah, last year they did a replay, and they give you the official one instead of just the. Oh yeah, I guess they wouldn't separate it out, would they? Because it's a replay. Oh,
I missed that on
So.
Beachhead. So
yeah, I don't have Beachhead yet. That's the only one I don't have.
You have cartographers?
Yes.
Oh, so you didn't miss the first year, I think. Oh no, that was because we only had a couple the first time because we didn't have replays the first year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but they did replay a lot of those early ones. I forget when they replayed them though. Yeah, I think you're right. It was about a year ago. Yeah, a lot of the early ones they replayed. I think Cartographers was one of them.
Yeah, they did not. They have not done the Beachhead though because everyone wants that Normandy still.
Yeah.
Yes, I need that for my fleet.
Well, and that's another
sorry.
thing. I wonder if they can. Like, is it something that's a licensable thing because it's Normandy and they talk to EA and now EA's like, nope, don't do that again. It's in the game and so it's technically you can't remove it, but you can't replay it either.
Interesting. I wonder.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't put it past EA to do something like that. Actually, that's Mass Effect property, so you can't do that.
We've changed our mind.
What color is your staff to you?
That's a personal question. This is the Atlas staff, so mine is red.
It is
I don't know if
red,
you're talking
okay.
to me. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the whole color issue.
Everyone else's staff is teal to everyone else.
Well, geez,
I know
yeah.
that drives me nuts because mine is purple. Mine is purple.
Actually, no, Heather, yours is teal.
I know.
It's teal.
But I wish it was. Like, it's purple to me on my screen.
I wonder, yeah. Let me pull out my other one.
Oh.
No
that was
one
nice.
laughed.
Mine is white.
It's not as big as yours. Is that purple or is it it's probably teal, right?
It's teal.
Damn it.
Why do I have the
Purple
shortest
to you?
staff?
I have the shortest staff.
We
I'm
we
little.
all have the shortest staff to ourselves,
Oh.
and everyone else is holding it in the wrong spot. Only you hold it in the correct spot.
Oh,
Yeah.
I see that.
You hold it towards the top, yeah.
Yeah, mine is way over my head on the stream. Interesting.
Well, and that's the thing that kind of drives me nuts, though, is that your multi-tools, as far as I know, come out the same color, correct? They come out the right way?
I think so.
Like that? So why is it only the staff? Like, what color is my multi-tool to you guys?
Oh, blue.
Yeah.
I want to pass it
blue one.
because the staff was the first one that actually like generated from where you found it, and the configuration, right? Depending on which ones you put together or which head you use, I should say. Like one terminal could kick out a certain color, so maybe it's just because of the variability
That is maybe it's the building. Okay, let me do this. I have a custom ship. Let's see. It might be the building part. So the game doesn't know what you built. Oh, excuse me. Sorry.
Yeah, well, don't mind me.
So let me do this. So I have a custom ship. What color is this ship coming in?
White.
Is it white?
Oh, and then the
Oh, no,
vector over there is
the
purple.
vector. It's purple. Okay, so that's the right color.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
This vector
Oh,
right
this
here?
one. This one is purple.
Okay.
Kind of mauve.
Mauve. Hey, it's only, I got purple finally. I'll take whatever they can give me, dang it. I've been asking for purple forever. Okay, so it's just the staff.
Yeah.
Because I know there was a problem early on when we first started doing ship building where it wouldn't be the color you made. Like if you did a custom ship, it was always a weird off color. It was never the color you actually did. But they fixed that somehow, or maybe I'm misremembering. But the staff is still a problem.
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought it was always the ship. I didn't know it was the staff.
It stinks too because we spent so much time looking for the staff of the right color with the right stats, and then it's just this gigantic teal.
Yeah, then when you go to multiplayer to show it off, like, hey, look at my staff. That looks boring. Yeah, believe me, I would so long trying to find an all purple staff, and I finally have it, and now no one will know except for me. Dang it.
Mine is all purple. But not to you.
Yeah, look at those two teal staffs you got.
Dang it.
Oh yeah, they are.
So I wonder, like, the trailers for Light No Fire. They say, oh, it's a massive multiplayer. Everyone thinks MMO is going to be 1,000 people. It's in my mind, until they prove me wrong, it's going to be No Man's Sky multiplayer. It's going to be 32 people potential with actual, like, 20 people at the most in the same instance. Yeah, running around and building.
And I think that'll be better.
You don't want 1,000 people on the screen running around building stuff?
No, I don't. I've played games like that, and it's fun. But in this one, I would love it if you were a core group. You could all spawn in the same area, and then you explored, not necessarily together, but you could go out from that center area, and then if you find ruins or temples or whatever, you know it's there for the game. It's not some other player built it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't ruin the ambience and the locations that are around you.
No, but Heather, on the other side of that, though, I want to be able to go through a portal and go to the new Light No Fire hub and pop into a city that has skyscrapers and, like, people just walking around, and there's hundreds of people walking around. And so the location I got to, it's not everywhere. It's just that one location that everyone agreed to build in. And so I could just walk through the streets and kind of look around and go, man, there's a lot of people here.
I would like that too. But I think it's something that you can get to. Okay, I played Terraria.
Yeah.
There are planets like that where people can go, and there'll be dozens of people in it at any given moment, and they've built all kinds of cool things and stuff, but you go to your own planet and it's just the players in your group.
Yeah, well, I think that'll be just like in No Man's Sky. We have the hub in No Man's Sky. We have, I think, how many hubs? 2, 3?
Because there's the space anomaly. What are the other two?
No. I mean the actual regions where everyone is building on the same planet.
Oh, yeah. I think there's quite a few, actually.
Yeah, so there's locations like that, but most of us, we spawn out at the outer edges of the universe. So most of the time, not always, because the game is kind of old now at this point, 8 years. So sometimes you'll start a new game and you'll spawn up on a planet that someone already found, and you're like, what the hell? But most of the time, you'll be on a planet that no one's ever discovered or seen. So I kind of like that kind of combination of spawn, like in Light No Fire, spawn you out on the random parts of the planet that no one's ever seen. And then there are regions that are like, okay, this is like a big build region where everyone kind of comes together and we're building a city, and I could build my own house there.
Living in the city versus living out in the wilderness.
Yeah.
Gotta take care of my wife's alarm. Hold on.
And I mean, that brings up the other question of, would we be able to do that since it's all on one planet? Like in No Man's Sky, everyone, they pick a region of the galaxy to build in, but it's on multiple planets, and some planets have a lot of buildings, a lot of bases, but you still have that limit of you can't be within, I think, 300? And usually they say, they have their own personal rule of you have to build 1,000 units away from people. That way your actual base will pop in, because if there's too many bases right next to each other, it kills the game, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder what they would do for, would that be possible to build a city together? Or would it be nope, sorry, you have to put on a base computer, for lack of a better word, and then no one can build within, or that tag or whatever it is?
Looking at the
it's
trailer,
interesting because in the trailer, those buildings seem pretty close together.
Yeah, they were really close.
Community are those bases? They all have that what was that sign? That home sign, which it looks like there's some sort of a teleportation something or other there. There's that blue light. They feel very base-like just from the trailer.
Yeah, so hopefully that is what they run into. That'd be awesome, but I mean, and that could be what they're testing out with the expeditions when we have to build bases on the same planet. They're kind of testing the limits and how close they can get without it crashing or killing the server. Or your game, for that matter, because I mean, there's some bases where you load in and it's well, now I have a slideshow. I'm getting 4 frames per second.
Yeah, but can't wait until they just like show us at least something of that. There's so much and so little they've shown of that.
I'm hoping they do like Sean gets on stage like he did with No Man's Sky, and he goes, "Okay, I'm gonna load into the game. We're gonna play, and I'm gonna totally cut this for later on. That way, everyone can bitch and moan and cut their videos about how I lied. But I'm gonna load into the game and show you a chunk of Light No Fire. I want that.
Just at least 15, 20 minute gameplay. That's it.
Oh,
15, 20 minute gameplay.
I don't even think it's gonna be 15. I think it'll be 5 at the most if we get it.
There's
well,
no...
if we get gameplay at the Game Awards, that means it's probably not that far off. Would you say?
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, we were all.
I was
thinking that
already under
last
the
year.
impression that they were ready to go because he came out and we knew they were working on something. We didn't know what it was or anything like that, but they were working on something because they announced it. I think in 2020, Sean came out in an interview for one of the No Man's Sky updates saying that they have something on the back burner. They didn't say how long they've been working on it, but they had something. And then they came out and he said, "Oh yeah, we've been working on it for 5 years." And I was like, "Well, that means that lines up with the development process for No Man's Sky. We should be getting it this year, 2024." And it didn't happen. And I'm like, "Oh no!"
So yeah, I was totally in that overly optimistic camp of like, it's this year, it's got to be.
I thought it was going to be October for sure. I was like, "Oh yeah, they'll do a No Man's Sky update in August because they always do, or around there, July, August, and then there'll be Light No Fire in October, and that'll be their good release for the year." Nope.
You heard it here first, folks.
Holding out hope. They still got a couple more weeks to announce it.
Seriously. I honestly thought it was going to be the summer because that would be the perfect time for them to unveil that game that was going to be that big. But
yeah.
Holding out for 2025 then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep. Spring 2020. I mean, it's a new game, so they're not going to, like some people were saying, "Oh, they're going to shadow drop it. It's going to be like Sean Murray just tweets out a fire emoji and then next week it'll be out." I don't think that's going to be the case. It's a brand new game. They want to get hype around it. They want people to pre-order it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be months. And then the other thing, the nerdy thing to look at is the game. It's a brand new game, so they have to rate it. It has to go through the rating board. So if you don't get a rating, it's at least a couple months after that. So once we get a rating, okay, then it could be any time, a couple months. We haven't even seen a rating for it yet, so it hasn't been submitted yet.
Okay.
So there's probably a 0% chance we see it this year at this point because it's already September, and even if they put rating out today, it would be a couple months, and I don't think they're going to release it in December. Maybe, but I doubt it. They want to hype it up. They want people to get pre-orders. They want to do all that stuff.
Sorry, I didn't mean to hit your ship. I was aiming for Jason.
I'm used to it. Just shoot me.
But man, we went way over time. Like 30 minutes over. Any final thoughts for the podcast, everyone?
Well, I'm really looking forward to Light No Fire, and I'm hoping that we get to see more of the stuff show up here so that I get to preview it and get excited about it. And I have to go and visit one of those floating islands now because somebody in the chat earlier said that they look stunning with the water change.
Yes, they do with the waterfall. Now it's not as flowy as like the oceans, but it's still really cool. And they fixed the hitboxes on them finally because when it first came out, when you landed on them, it was kind of, you would be like standing above it a little bit because the hitbox was kind of off. But they fixed that now with I think the last couple patches, so it's better. And oh yeah, they're cool.
Right. Yeah, I'm looking forward to, obviously, goes without saying, looking forward to Light No Fire and just like how it's going to be different than No Man's Sky. But Sean Murray, if you're listening, give us some lore, just a little, just to get us by. We want to know how this Void Mother thing.
Yes.
Well, I'm gonna go out on a limb. I'm gonna totally speculate. When we get the Worlds Part 2 update, it's gonna add in purple, be centered around the Void Mother and the autophage, and we're gonna get some kind of an indication that end of 16 Mother basically killing off the Atlas, and when that happens, we'll all be kicked off into Light No Fire because we'll be ejected from the simulation and we'll be in Light No. And then that'll be October. In December, they announced time frame for light no fire. They'll say fall 2025 or something like that. And if I'm wrong, I totally didn't say any of this.
Can't prove a thing.
You can't prove it. Yeah, exactly.
I do hope one thing for Light No Fire, that our purple staffs are purple to everybody.
I hope
Yeah.
so. Like they're introducing building stuff. Like we have ship building now. We have the staff building. I think it feels like that's going to be a major feature in Light No Fire. You're going to be able to build like your armor pieces and things like that, and your staff and your weapons and things like that. And hopefully, yes, they get it synced up in multiplayer. So when I have my entire purple, purple staff and my purple shield, everyone sees it.
There goes Jason.
Yeah. We're like, yeah, that's terrible. Well, he's all.
There goes Jason with his teal shield.
I swear.
Jason of the
I'm just
teal
gonna have
shield.
like a speech bubble above me that just says "purple is purple."
Oh no, that would be a really cool name though. Jason of the Teal Shield.
The teal shield. I really hope that I missed out on the No Man's Sky special edition with like the ship and everything. Something like that for Light No Fire. I want a little bunny, like collector's edition bunny with a shield. I would totally instantly
I would
pre-order
too.
that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Release the plushie.
Yeah, we're ready,
Yeah.
Sean.
Yeah.
Yes, do it. In December. I have a
many-
feeling December.
How many animals are there in the game? Are there 8 or 9?
I saw stags, cats,
Oh.
and rabbits.
Yeah, I think we just got a slice. I have a feeling there's going to be a lot more, almost like No Man's Sky when you have all the different versions of the Gek. So not only will you have like a badger, you'll have a frog and all that. You'll be able to customize it with different heads and different things like that.
Hmm.
Yeah, and it felt weird too. Like some of them felt like they were just sort of skins of the other, like maybe color variants of the other, the badger and the
Yeah,
otter or whatever like that. So it's kind of hard to really say. But I think there's quite a few. I was trying to look back at my notes if I can find one, but God, that was a long time.
yeah. Well, and then you never know because it could be that we had a fox and a badger, but they had different heads or whatever. So it was actually the same thing with a different head. Just like if you would have showed me all the different Korvax heads, I would have said they were different races in No Man's Sky before we played it, and you realize, oh no, that's just a different head.
Oh yeah. So I have there's like a fox, there's like a fawn, rabbits. There's more skeletons if they're even playable. Bears, otters, badgers, amphibians, possibly frogs, pigs, wolves, and foxes was my list.
Dang.
And I'm sure that's not even all of them.
Yeah.
You didn't see
Oh,
a
yeah.
cat? I need there to be
I didn't
cat.
see a cat. Is there a cat?
Just be a fox. That's close enough, right?
Yeah.
Well, like
How
birds.
dare you?
But it's
But oh man, I wish we could keep doing this like all day. There's just so much we want to know and so much we could speculate about. But we're gonna have to cut it off here, everyone. Jason, Heather, Ghost, thank you all for coming on here. Those of you who are watching, thank you all for being here today. We wouldn't be doing this without you guys. See you later.
Bye,
Thanks for having
everyone.
me. Bye.
Thanks.